Hey everyone, and welcome to YarnGasm. I'm Kristen, and this is episode 163. If you are a new viewer, thanks so much for checking out my podcast, and if you are a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. As always, I'm super excited that you guys decided to spend a little bit of your week, a little bit of your time chatting about knitting, spinning, and hand-dyeing yarn, and general crafty awesomeness with me. Yeah, I have a huge episode for you guys. It feels like that. I feel like the last couple of episodes have been rather short, but this week it's a two-pager in show notes. So I feel like there's a lot I have to talk about. So without further ado, let's dive right into things. I guess first we'll start off with the Summer Sock Spackle prize winners. Yay! If you are familiar, if you've been following the podcast, you might know that I hosted a Summer Sock Spackle from July 1st all the way through September 1st, which just happened. So I locked the thread, and the idea was to spin and knit an entire pair of socks. I did not complete said spackle, but I participated. I have one bobbin to show for, but all of you guys, you continue to amaze me. Every time I pop into that thread, it's just a wealth of inspiration and awesomeness. And I believe we had 13 non-chatter entries. I created two threads, a chatter thread for general conversation, chit-chat and what have you, and then a no-chatter thread for people who wanted to enter to win a prize, who completed the entire spackle. So I believe there was about 13 entries in there. And I used a random number generator to choose a winner, and I did it off camera because it would just take too much time for me to sit there. You get the idea. So just trust me that I chose a winner at random, and the lucky winner will win one skein of my hand-dyed yarn, Voolenvine yarns, in any colorway, any base you would like. Just congratulations to everybody, and thank you for participating in the spackle. It's so fun, even though you may not, finish the spackle or come through on it. It's just a fun experience. It's a learning experience, or just general fun. It's not a competition by any means. So as long as you're having fun, as long as you're learning something, or just having fun in general, that's what these things are for. So no competing whatsoever. I'm really bad with rules. But the only thing is that you entered your finished product, your finished project into the non-chatter thread, and that qualified you right away to win a prize. So anyway, without further ado, drum roll please. The winner is number 3, Chick with Yarn, who knit a really, really beautiful pair of pink socks. I believe it was pink, and it may have had silk in it. It looked like it had silk in it. A really luxurious pair of hand-spun, hand-knit socks. So congratulations, Chick with Yarn. Please PM me on Ravelry with your shipping info, and let me know what colorway and what base you would like me to dye your prize on. So yay, awesome, congrats again. And I look forward to hearing from you. So I'm going to move right into what's on the needles, because I don't have anything off the needles. I thought I would have a pair of socks, but not the case. Instead, I am still working on the second sock of my fairy hair socks. This is my hand-dyed yarn on my Volca base, merino nylon cashmere in my fairy hair colorway. And I'm just doing my favorite sock pattern, 1x1 ribbing cuff, top down, reinforced heel turn, and then I just have to knit the foot and I'm done. But I put a rather large dent in it this past week. But yeah, I'm really loving it, as one can love knitting a pair of socks, really. But the idea is, I know this is like a super luxurious skein of yarn, if you will. The idea is to knit a pair of socks and use these as the cover model for my revised version of my favorite sock pattern, a free pattern that you can download on Ravelry. I just kind of wanted to give it a little remake, because I'm not too crazy about the current photo that's on there. If you're familiar with it, it has a pair of Outlander socks on it, which is fine, but I wasn't too crazy about the photography. So I kind of want to do a redo of that and kind of tweak the pattern a little bit to add a smaller size to the schematic of it. That made no sense. But just add an additional sizing option for smaller feet, if you will. So these will be gracing the cover of that. So yay! And these are kindly living in my prototype bag with cats and with heart eyes. Yeah, so anyway. Next on the needles, you've probably seen this already on Instagram, but after hanging out with Carlene from the Made with Carlinergy podcast, which I mentioned on last week's episode, a really awesome podcast, brand new, totally check her out, she's awesome. But after hanging out with her at Pearl Soho and seeing her lumpy space shawl in person, I couldn't resist. I really, really couldn't resist casting one on for myself. So I cast one on, like you do. And I finished the first half, and this is a pattern by West Knits. And disclaimer, I will admit, I am not a huge fan of Stephen West patterns. I appreciate the style and everything, but just some of them are a little too crazy for me. But after knitting this, I might be a convert. I don't know, but in general, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, it might be a little too wacky for my style. But after knitting this, I might be a convert, Stephen West convert. But here's the first half of the shawl. It's a huge diamond shape. And if you're not familiar with Adventure Time, it's a cartoon for mature audiences, if you will. I'm new to, I had never watched it before, but after Allison, who works at Pearl Soho, mentioned, oh yeah, it's named after that character, Lumpy Space Princess from Adventure Time, I had to check out an episode. Now I'm fully aware and fully educated on the subject. But yeah, Stephen West named the pattern after Lumpy Space Princess, since Lumpy Space Shawl. So here's the first half of it, and I am using Bijou Basin Himalayan Trail in the Sky colorway, which Molly of A Homespun House, if you watch her podcast or are familiar with her patterns, you might know that she used the same colorway to knit her first Whispering Pines shawl with, and I happened to pick up the same colorway at Rhinebeck last year. So I thought the colors went really well together. But anyway, I'm using that colorway here as the blue, and let me see, do I have the tag? I thought I had the tag with me. It's somewhere on my messy desk. But anyway, and then I'm also using some hand spun from one of Deb from Fondant Fiber, one of her fuzzlings that I hand spun, and just this really pretty glittery purple. And I thought I would have enough, but I wasn't sure. But I kind of wanted to use hand spun with it, so I know Deb's fuzzlings are huge. You get a lot of yardage out of them. And here's an example. This is my backup skein, my backup mini skein of hand spun of a fondant fiber fuzzling that I'm going to use to supplement what I don't have in the first mini skein that I used in here. But anyway, I know I'm going back and forth because it's one of those days. But I finished the first half, put it on some spare needles, and then now I'm currently working on the second half. I've been really monogamous with this, which is crazy. That never happens. But anyway, I'm halfway done with the second half. And of course I ran out of the mini skein, so I'm going to supplement it with this mini skein, which is very, very close. It's a little darker, but I think no one will notice. And the pattern calls for 4 skeins. And right now I'm working with the least amount of yardage that it calls for. So, but the largest amount that it called for, for the largest amount of yardage that it called for, I'm going to be using the skein of Fiddle Knits that I purchased a long time ago. And it's just been languishing my stash, and I love it. I've been coveting it. It's beautiful, and it's her the Aria bronze base in the Experiment at Dusk colorway. It's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and 15% stellina. And there's 438 yards of fingering weight in here, and it's beautiful. So I think it'll go really well with that. And the other colorway, contrasting colorway that I'm going to be using is Loft. Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the Fossil colorway. Now you're probably thinking, okay, wait a minute, Kristen, you were going to use this as the applied border for your lattice shawl designed by Maria Manska of the Stitch in Sweden podcast. You are correct. However, when I saw the colorways and I put this together, I was like, oh, decisions. But I was so excited to cast on with it that I'm like, okay, I'm just going to use these together. I don't care, whatever. I'll get another skein. And I'm going to get another skein because I have a trunk show coming up at Gauge Intention. So an easy problem solver. I'm just going to get another skein of this while I'm there. So there's no crisis here. There's no problem. I'm just going to use this with my lumpy space and it'll be fine. But anyway, so I'm having a lot of fun with that. And thank you, Carlene, for totally inspiring me to cast that on and getting over my Stephen West. Oh, I'm not going to cast that on. Anyway, I'm in a wacky mood again today, guys. So like I do. Anyway, so yeah, that's another thing on the needles. And then what else have I been working on? I put another dent in my Verdure shawl by the lovely and amazing Miss Isabel of the Fluffy Fibers podcast. And it's been so long. I feel like it's been forever since I picked this up, but I put a rather large dent in it yesterday. Yesterday after I was done dyeing yarn, I said, to hell with everything, I'm just gonna sit here and knit, and I worked on so many things. But yeah, and here's my little progress keeper. It's a little dragonfly. And then I did maybe 5 repeats, and here's where I am. So, hang on. I did the math, and I have about maybe 27 more pattern repeats of the applied border to do before I get to the end. And it's about 9 days. It worked out like this magically. I think I have 9 more days before my trunk show, and I want to have this done before my trunk show. So obviously 27 divided by 9 is 3. So if I do 3 repeats every day, it will be done by my trunk show. Yeah, I mathed, guys. It's times like these where I feel kind of smart in the math end of my brain. I don't know, because I really stink at math. It's horrible, but when multiplication works out like that, I'm very proud of myself. It's really sad. Anyway, but yes, this is another hand-dyed yarn of mine, and the Succulents colorway on my Blitz base. I don't know if you can see the glitter in there, but it has gold stellina, and it's very light, subtly shaded, tonal, light green with some gray and some light blues. It's mostly like the sea glass kind of green, if you will. So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that, and that's my goal, to finish it before my trunk show at Gauge Intention, which I will talk about in Shop Update. So yes, lovely. Okay, so next up is another project that I'm super excited about. I cast it on last night, and here's where I'm going to announce the new knit-along that I'm hosting. So last night, or this week I should say, I dyed up some new colorways for fall, Halloween, Christmas, the holidays. I've been working away on that, coming up with some new things for the shop, and I dyed up this one colorway that I'm head over heels for and super excited about. And I guess I'll just show it to you. But as you know, last week I was so excited like I am, to cast on a featherweight cardigan, because I've been talking about it forever and ever. And I finally cast one on, you guys. I cast it on, and here it is. All right. In my new colorway that I hand-dyed this week. And many of you have been asking me or wondering if I was going to dye a Edward Gorey inspired colorway. This is it, my friends. This is called the Gashly Crumb is the colorway. If you're not familiar with Edward Gorey, he is a wonderful mid-century illustrator who did all these kind of like tongue-in-cheek, gothy, kind of morbid illustrations and storybooks and the Gashly Crumb is his alphabet book, which I will gladly show you right now. When me and Dennis went to Cape Cod, we visited the Edward Gorey house because he had a house out in Cape Cod, and they turned it into a museum after he passed away, which I highly recommend. If you're ever out there, visit it. It's amazing and so interesting. It's a small museum, but definitely check it out. But the Gashly Crumb Tinies. This is the flyer from the museum. And what the Gashly Crumb is his, as I mentioned, his alphabet. So you have all those illustrations, but they have stuff like A is for Amy, who fell down the stairs. B is for Basil, assaulted by bears. It's really gruesome. M is for Maud, who was swept out to sea. N is for Neville, who died of ennui. And then, like some other, oh, my favorite. K is for Kate, who was struck with an axe. L is for Leo, who swallowed some tacks. And then the last one on the back is, let me see. Y is for Yorick, whose head was knocked in. Z is for Zilla, who drank too much gin. So yeah, you see where that's going here. Anyway, totally inspired by that. And if you look at some of his illustrations online, you will see that a lot of them are black and white. A lot of them are muted shades, a lot of mauve, a lot of yellows, a lot of blues. I made it happen. I think I made it happen. I don't know, but I fell in love with the colorway and decided, yes, this is going to be a featherweight cardigan. And coincidentally, Upscale Heirlooms on Ravelry contacted me, suggesting that I hope you don't mind that I mentioned your Ravelry name. I apologize if not, but anyway, you're being mentioned, but in a good light, if you will. But yes, she contacted me and suggested that I host a featherweight knit-along. So I thought it was perfect. You know, I had wanted to cast on a featherweight for some time, and I thought this was the perfect opportunity to do that. So thank you, Rach. Sorry, my camera ran out of memory and I had to unload and come back to you guys. But once again, thank you to Upscale Heirlooms for suggesting this brilliant KAL. I've decided to host it from the first day. I decided it would be a good idea to make it maybe like a countdown to winter KAL knit-along. So I've decided to have the kickoff date be September, the first day of autumn, September, what is it? September 23rd, all the way through the first day of, until the first day of winter, which is December 22nd, 2015. So a 3-month KAL. If you've always wanted to knit a featherweight but never got around to it, or want to knit your second, third, or fourth featherweight, or, you know, hey, if you have yarn languishing in your stash that you have no idea what to do with, knit a featherweight. So I'm very excited about this knit along, and I hope you guys are too. And yes, as you can see, I already cast on. So there's no official start date. If you want to start it today, by all means. If you want to start it mid-September or on this official start date, go for it. I just figured if you need time to plan it out or what have you, just, you know, a good starting point. But yes, if you want to cast on now, by all means. And I knit all this last night. So yeah, I totally checked out. I worked all morning and afternoon, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put my feet up and just catch up on some podcasts and knit. And I am almost done with before I have to separate the sleeves to knit the rest of the body. So I'm very impressed with myself as to how much knitting I have gotten done yesterday. Between this, the verdure shawl, my lumpy space, something is in the water. Where has Kristen gone? I don't know who I am anymore. It's crazy. But anyway, no, it's really exciting. And I'm knitting this on my new Halo alpaca base, which is 60% superwash merino, 20% superwash. I'm sorry. 60% superwash merino, 20% superfine alpaca, and then the other 20% is nylon. So it's really, really lovely and soft. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a very lovely soft halo going on there. So, and I'm alternating between 2 skeins, and I just dropped a stitch marker. Sorry about that. But yes, I'm actually alternating skeins. So as you know, with hand-dyed yarn, it's very, like if you're just knitting from one skein and you knit fine. You may experience some pooling. With my skeins, I generally don't have any pooling issues or anything. Not that it's an issue, but my yarn, I don't like pooling in general, so I aim not to have any pooling occur in my skeins. But if you want to avoid that, and you want it to look like a seamless one skein garment, my best suggestion would be to knit from 2 skeins, which is what I'm doing. So I have 2 skeins caked up, and what I'm doing is every other row, so I'm knitting 1 right side row and 1 wrong side row, and then at the beginning of every right side row I am just kind of, I don't know if you can see right here, but just kind of like twisting the yarn up on itself. So this is the second skein, and this is the skein that I'm using now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of, this is on the wrong side, but I'm just going to crisscross this. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the tail, but this is the next skein that I'm going to be alternating between. So once I'm done knitting the wrong side, I'm going to take this yarn and kind of wrap it around the last yarn from the skein and then start working with that. There's a really excellent tutorial. It's about 15 minutes long, but it's very informative, and it shows you how to correctly alternate between 2 skeins of yarn when knitting a garment, whether be it in the round or knit flat, which is what I'm doing right now. So very, very helpful, and I will link to that in the show notes. I know last week I kind of fell behind on show notes, but this week I'll write some show notes. But yeah, I am using US size 6 needles on my Carbons interchangeables, and I'm just really liking it. Really, really enjoying it. And the idea, my goal is to finish it for Rhinebeck. This will be my Rhinebeck sweater. It will be my Rhinebeck sweater, and I'm going to work on this when I do my trunk show too. I feel like it's, pretty autopilot knitting. There's no crazy patterning or cabling or anything, so I feel like it'll be a straight shot. So I'm very excited about that, and I hope you guys are too. And yes, I will start a Ravelry thread for the knit along, like you do. So, okay, that is all I've been working on this week. And I feel like, I know there are other projects that I'm working on, my Summer in Kansas, my Come What May shawl, and patterns that I really need to put a dent in, but with, as I mentioned, the trunk show and Rhinebeck and all these other things happening, they kind of have to take a back seat right now, because right now I have priorities, guys. I don't know. Right now I want to work on what I want to work on, and this is how I work as a knitter, so I got to go with it. Otherwise, what's the point of knitting if it's not fun? So, not that those other projects aren't fun. It's what I want to work on right now. So, yay. Okay. You probably can relate, I'm sure. So, all right, I'm going to go on to sewing. And I feel like I totally glazed over this last week. As you know, I ordered a new sewing machine, my Janome 2212 machine, and I didn't talk about it last week. I didn't say what I thought about it, which is ridiculous because I've been using it so much, and oh my gosh, you guys, I love it. I really, 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 really love it. It is my new bestie. It's great. Words cannot describe how enamored I am with it. It sews like a dream. It's night and day compared to what I was sewing with before. My Singer Confidence, my Confidence quilter. The feed dogs were just, on my old one, as I mentioned, they were not pulling the fabric in. It was just kind of like a free form kind of sewing thing, which I'm sure some of you really enjoy, but for me, what I wanted to do, which is sew garments and project bags, that's not what it was meant for. I went through a short-lived quilting phase, and that quickly passed, and the machine did not do what I needed it to do, and I did a lot of research online, and the Janome New Home 2212 came highly recommended. It was a toss-up between that one and the Sewist, but I went with that one, and I could not be happier. So I highly recommend it if you guys are in the market for a new sewing machine. The price point was amazing. I believe I spent maybe $162 US for it. give ballpark. So yeah, it was super cheap, but works like a dream. So if, you know, I think it's a great entry level and intermediate level sewing machine, and advanced. It really depends what you are looking for in a machine. I only need 2 main stitches, a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch, and it does all that, and it does it well. So you don't need any of those fancy, unless you're doing embroidery or what have you, you don't need all those extra millions of stitches that some of these machines come with. So that's how I feel about it. And yes, I've been sewing a lot of project bags on it, and I have all these grand plans for knitting more garments. I still have to sew my Anna dress. I'm not totally sold on, I want to sew an Anna dress using the fabric that I showed you last time. And some of you even contacted me about the fabric, like, oh, it's cotton. I thought that maybe it would look better with a more drapey fabric, and I couldn't agree more. I saw some Liberty fabric that I was kind of drooling over, but before I sink my teeth into some really nice Liberty fabric, I kind of want to toy around with some cotton fabric first. So, but yeah, I have some fun fabrics coming in the mail this week. So that'll definitely be a project. I want to have a really awesome hand-sewn dress for the trunk show and Rhinebeck. So these are events that I'm planning. I'm setting the bar for myself, but yes, I'm very excited. Anyway, other sewing things that I wanted to talk about. I'm pretty sure there was, but oh no, I think it was just the sewing machine that I wanted to talk about. But check it out. And yeah, so I'm going to move on to, I want to talk about enhancements. I have no stash enhancements this week, but I did purchase something that I keep meaning to talk about, but for some reason I keep forgetting to talk about it on the show. I don't know why. But if you're familiar with the Fa Knits, hosted by Laura Stansel, she has a really awesome podcast about knitting and spinning. And she also has an Etsy shop where she sews her own bags and prints and everything. And I fell in love. I went to her Etsy shop and I fell in love with this one print that she made. Let me see. And it just spoke to me. She, aside from project bags, she also makes patches or just things that you can frame or what have you. Anyway, let me show it to you. But yeah, she and her husband, they make these tree stump prints using fabric. I don't know what kind of paint she uses, but it's really cool. I know she has some glow-in-the-dark ones. But this one really, really spoke to me, only because it was black here, and then the teal and the peach. Kind of reminds me of light leaks when you take an instant photo. So I thought that was really cool, and this is a patch. I still have to frame it. I have not purchased a frame for it yet. And when it came in the mail, Dennis really loved it. And sometimes our art tastes, I feel like they kind of clash, so he doesn't really understand my taste in art sometimes, but this one he really liked. He's very into the nature, so to speak, so he liked this one. So yeah, Laura, thank you. I really love this, and if you have not checked out her Etsy shop, do check it out. She's awesome, especially her podcast. She's really, really cool, and yay, awesome. So very excited about that. But yeah, no other stash enhancements to speak of this week, although that may change in a couple weeks. I don't know. I feel, do you guys ever experience that where you're like, it's been a while, or you're trying to be good and not buy any more yarn, or you just go through like this phase where you don't think to buy any more yarn, and then you realize that you haven't purchased any more yarn, and you're like, should I be buying more yarn? I feel like it's time for me to just kind of treat myself and just say to hey with it and buy more yarn. That's kind of how I feel like right now. I find myself browsing Etsy and all my favorite yarn dyers, and I'm just like, it's been a while since I bought something. So anyway, this is how I'm feeling, but yeah, anyway, I digress. So I'm going to move on to Ask Away, because we have I'm catching up on some questions that were asked in the Ask Away thread, which is a thread in the YarnGasm Ravelry group where you can ask anything of or relating to yarn, dyeing, spinning, knitting, about me in general. Yeah, so I pulled out 2 questions from there, so I'm just going to go answer them. Okay, so Jen Engelbrecht on Ravelry asks, When I get a hank of yarn, I either beg the girls at the store to wind it up for me, or I bring it home and pray for the best, but I usually wind up with a huge tangly mess. Do you use a ball winder for your shop? If so, which one? Is that what people mean when they say they cake it up? Also, when I wind it up, I usually just get these oval types of yarn balls. After I get through like half of it, it all becomes a big mess too. Should I be winding that even though it's already wound up? I just feel like I'm spending so much time untangling yarn instead of actually knitting. So I'm hoping there's a cool secret out there that no one has let me in on yet. Thanks. Okay. So in order for you to cake up a yarn, when you go to the yarn store, you come home with this lovely thing. It's a skein or a hank, whatever you want to call it. And you will have to wind it into a cake. And by cake, this is a cake. This is a properly wound cake, how it should look, as long as it's like in this form. And they call it a cake because it's like a cake. It's round, it's flat on top, flat on bottom, and round. And that's why they call it a cake. If there's another reason, please let me know. I would love to know. But if your ball winder is not functioning properly, it might be misaligned, you will end up, of course I have an example, you will wind up with something like this. And I think this is what Jen means when she ends up with like an oval ball of some sorts. You end up with this. So if you're wondering where that second sock for my Stellar Banshee went, this is what I'm dealing with. My ball winder was not aligned correctly, and I just ended up with this tangly, poorly wound ball of yarn. So if you see, like when you start winding your ball, when you start caking your skein from the Swift, that thing right there, to your ball winder. Oh, you can't even see it. It's behind that laundry basket of yarn. But yeah, when you're caking your yarn from the Swift to the ball winder and you see something like this start to happen, stop. Don't continue. Just stop it. If you can't figure it out yourself, I know I can't even describe how I fixed mine, but I had to open it up, tinker around with it until it started winding correctly. If this is what's happening to you, just stop what you're doing. Don't wind it. If you must wind your yarn now and then, just do it by hand. Do not continue. Otherwise, you will end up with a tangly throw-up piece like this. So my suggestion is if you don't know what to do, motorcycles. If you don't know what to do, I would take it to your LYS. I would take your either your skein to your LYS and have them wind it for you, or take your ball winder to your LYS and see if they have any tips or tricks as to how you can fix it. Maybe they know how to open it up and realign it for you, or just get another ball winder. I would highly suggest investing in a very good ball winder. I have a Knit Picks ball winder. I still have my Strock ball winder, which I don't like at all. It always ends up in a tangly mess. It's just not for me, and I'm currently destashing it. If anybody's interested in it, some swear by their Strock ball winders. I don't. It's not for me. But yes, if you're curious, PM me on Ravelry. I am selling it. Yes. Anyway, but yeah, it's rare that I cake yarn up, or I don't cake it up on a regular basis. So it works fine for me for that oddball of yarn that I'm winding. I apologize. It's really distracting, this motorcycle. Someone is doing wheelies outside my window. That's what it sounds like. But yeah, what I use is the Knit Picks ball winder because I don't wind balls or cakes of yarn on a regular basis. I do it once in a blue moon when I'm working on a project for myself, or if a customer needs me to cake a skein of yarn, I will gladly do it for them on that. But if you're frequently winding cakes, I would invest in. I've heard Royal ball winders are great, and Nancy's Knickknacks is a huge investment. But if you're doing this on a regular basis, it's something to look into. So I hope that answers your question. But yeah, if your cake is not looking right, don't torture yourself. You'll just regret it later. Stop what you're doing, bring it to your LYS, or just get a new ball winder. So yeah, anyway, the next question is from To Be Amazing. Hi Kristen, I was curious about your citric acid soak method to help set the dye. I bought Madeline Tosh Merino Light in Tarte. I've always heard that Tarte has a reputation for bleeding since it's a very deep red. So I washed my yarn last night, but it still wasn't enough to get the dye out. When it comes to rinsing out reds, is there anything special that you do? Here's the pun, to stop bleeding. So, okay, red in general has a reputation for bleeding. Red dyes, magenta dyes, they will bleed. And, you know, it doesn't matter how many times you rinse them out, there will still be subtle bleeding. And as a hand dyer, it doesn't matter how many times you rinse it out, it's always going to be there. And the same token, when you are doing laundry, it's why you don't wash your red or your colors with your whites, because those colors have been known to bleed. So, you know, when you have a load of laundry of white t-shirts and white socks, and the odd red sock gets tossed in the laundry, and you take out your clothes and everything's pink, that's why. But yes, when I hand dye yarn, I always soak my yarn in citric acid, probably more citric acid than it really calls for, just because I want to make sure that the dye is in there and doesn't come out. So I just, you know, I have it soak in there for maybe like an hour to 2 hours. I know you don't only have to soak your yarn for about a half an hour, but there's a lot going on during my day, so usually I don't get to it until like an hour to 2 hours later after I'm done soaking. So there's that. And then once the water is heated on the stove, I always add in a little dollop more of citric acid just for that extra insurance. So yeah, that's the method to my madness. But I probably don't have to use that much citric acid, but why not? Why not just add that extra bit of reassurance for yourself, you know, that, okay, when I wash this, the color is not going to totally rinse out. So I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry that it's going to bleed. I would just suggest rinsing it separately from all your other things. But yeah, the color should not fade. The color should not fade. It's just the way of it, the way things work with those types of dyes. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I hope that answers your question. And again, if you have any other questions that you would like me to answer on the podcast, please leave me a message on, or post your questions in the YarnGasm Ravelry thread under Ask Away, and I will be happy to get to them in the coming episodes. So, okay, I think that is it for general segments. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to shop update stuff. So as you know, I started selling project bags in my shop, and I ran out of lining, so I didn't get to sew as much as I would like, but I did make a few project bags. I'm going to try to get a few out today. I have more fabric coming in. It should be today. So by the next update, there will be more project bags. But by popular demand, you guys have requested more of hydrangeas with bee lining, so that will be in the shop. If you can see the bees, yeah. So bee lining and hydrangeas and a handle, because a lot of you were telling me how much you love project bags with handles. I'm gonna add handles to my project bags. Some will have them, some won't, but yeah. And I have a cute little flower, little rose kind of project keeper slash stitch marker slash pull tab on there, so to make it easy. Yay! And yes, canvas bottom. So it stands up on its own. So the other project bags that I have, I never got to show you guys the fabric that I got from Cape Cod, at Murray's Fabrics in Orleans, Cape Cod. Well, I finally got to sew with it, and it's this amazing, here, I'll just show you the bag. It's this really cool beachy lighthouse toile. And I was so psyched to finally be able to sew with it. And yeah, it just has a cool lighthouse. It has lighthouses all over it, and it has sailboats, some umbrellas, and some seagrass. And then on the other side, you have some crabs and shells, and then these awesome seagulls just hanging out, having a blast. So really excited I was able to finally crack into that. And has a matchy kind of lighthouse charm that you can use as like a stitch marker, again, as stitch marker, pull tab, or progress peep, or what have you. And this one just has a simple natural lining to it. Nothing fancy, but you know, some of you like that. So, and as I mentioned, I ran out of lining, so, and I don't think I even had some coordinating fabric for that. I just thought the natural kind of complemented the canvas bottom. So, and it kind of looks like sand too, I think. You know, the beige canvas bottom. Anyway, so this one doesn't have a handle on it. I made one that does. So here's that one. So yeah, this one has a handle. Yeah, so lighthouse on the front, chilling seagulls on the back. So that will be available in the shop tomorrow. And as I mentioned, I'm going to try and crank out a few more for you guys at some point today. So yay, that's awesome. Okay, now on to yarn. The project bags are kind of like a little supplement thing that I'm doing. Obviously, yarn is my main thing. So whenever I have time, I will make project bags. But if not, yarn, hand dyeing yarn is my main thing. Just FYI, in case you were curious as to why I don't have as many project bags as I do yarn. So I hope that answers your question. Yes, this isn't all of it, but this is what I have skeined up for you guys to show on the podcast. I have some pretty big announcements for the shop. Upon popular demand, if you recall, a while ago I stopped selling my Footsie base because I can't get it all year round, and you know, I figured, okay, if I can't get it all year round, what's the point of me selling it at my shop? A lot of you really, really loved my Footsie base, which is a BFL, a superwash BFL / nylon blend, which is amazing for socks. It's not as soft, but it's super sturdy. And a lot of you really missed it. And my supplier got it back in stock, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to bring it back. Even if it's seasonal, I'm just going to bring it back. I'm bringing Footsie back, y'all. Oh, gosh. Yeah, that is totally... That is so going to be the name of this episode. It's bringing Footsie back. Oh, wow. No. Okay. Sorry. Okay, but anyway... Footsie is back, you guys, and this is a new Halloween / holiday color that I dyed up. This is called Santa's Little Zombies because it's very Christmassy and zombie-esque, I felt like, and the name just was appropriate. So this will be available on Footsie. I also have it on my new Halo alpaca base, which is a 60% superwash merino, as I mentioned earlier. It's 60% superwash merino, 20% superfine alpaca, 20% nylon. So Santa's Little Zombies will be on that. It'll be on blitzed. So it's got sparkle. Yay. And then this one is another one that I'm not sure I'm going to make a regular, but I'm going to call this one Brains. I think it's going to be called Brains. It's very zombie-like as well. So it's got some kind of mauve in there, some greens, some reds. So that'll be dyed across a lot of bases. I will have Stellar Banshee on my Halo alpaca. I haven't dyed Stellar Banshee in quite a while, I feel like. So I thought it was time to bring it back. Be on Footsie. And then I will have some Jilted Rose on Blitzed and some Volca. So which is, yeah, pink. And of course I will have Gashly Crumb on my Halo alpaca. I will have it, there's another one on Halo alpaca. I will have it on Blitzed. Here it is on Blitzed. Which is real. I think this is a really awesome fall colorway. I just think it is, you know, for Halloween or just fall in general. It will be on Footsie. Got some speckles in there, lots of speckles. But it's very subtle. And yeah, whoop, sorry. Okay. What else? Okay, and I will have some Outlander. I'll definitely have some Outlander. And actually, hang on, let me show you an Outlander. Yeah, on Halo alpaca, it's very hairy. Alpaca is hairy, quite hairy, but still soft at the same time, and warm. I had a little accident in the dye pot. I was dyeing Outlander, and I think one of these colorways at the same time, so I had the orange dye next to the red dye, and I dyed some Outlander with some red in it. So it has a little bit of orange and red. This will obviously be a misfit skein. I have 2 of them, so it's an interesting combo, but some of you might like it. It'll be a misfit skein. And I have 2 of these on Halo Alpaca. So there you go. And, oh, yes. And I will have some Mexican hot chocolate. Yay! Awesome. And I'm going to be dyeing some more up today. So lots more to come. Definitely check out the shop update tomorrow, as usual, Friday, September 4th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just a little disclaimer, because I'm having a trunk show at Gauge Intention, I'm having one again on September 12th and September 13th. That's a Saturday. So not this weekend, but the following weekend. Definitely stop by if you're in New York or Brooklyn or what have you. Stop by, say hello. As usual, I love meeting customers in person. I will hug you. Yes, it will happen. I will hug you because I like hugging. But yeah, no, definitely stop by. It'll be a lot of fun. I will have some project bags. I will have your favorite colorways. I will have a Halo Alpaca, Footsie, and yeah, just an all-around good time. So, but yes, I am not taking custom orders from now until after that Sunday, September 13th. So please, no custom orders until after then. And as usual, I'm only accepting custom orders for 4 or more skeins, just to keep the balance between custom orders and what I have to stock my shop with every week. Even I want to be fair to my regular shop visitors when I do my updates. So that's how I have to do things. I apologize if that impedes on your project plans, but 4 skeins or more is the way I have to roll going forward. So, yes, and what else? What was I going to say? There was something else I was going to say. Oh, okay, so no shop update the following Friday. No shop update on September 11th because I will be prepping for said trunk show. And whatever I don't sell at the trunk show will automatically be put into my shop the following Monday. So the next shop update will be, I will have a shop update tomorrow on the 4th, but the shop update after that will be September 14th. Yes, September 14th, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, I know that's a lot of info, but I hope you guys are excited. I'm very excited as usual. I'm always excited, so it goes without saying. But anyway, that's pretty much it. And as for blather, I feel like there's a lot going on just leading up to the trunk show and just a lot going on. Our friends of ours are coming in town. They're coming from San Fran and crashing with us early next week. And me and Dennis are super psyched to hang out with them. It's been a while since we've seen them. And yeah, so that'll be fun. And oh my gosh, another thing that I'm super excited about is Mina from the Knitting Expat podcast, a wonderful podcast. She's based in Bahrain, which is very awesome. She's coming to New York City, and we are meeting up. We are going to hang out at Brooklyn General, and I could not be more excited. So yeah, that'll be really fun to meet Mina in person. If you have not checked out her podcast, oh my gosh, what kind of log are you living under? Look up the Knitting Expat podcast. She's wonderful. She's funny. She's a knitwear designer as well, and she makes project bags as well. And she's under Mina Makes on Etsy, and check her out. She's really cool. So yes, I could not be more excited about that. And what else? I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's pretty much it as far as what's going on in my life. I'm just going to be working nonstop, dyeing yarn, until the trunk show. So, but I'm very happy about it. And one thing that I cannot be more excited about, it's really unfortunate because I really love summer, but I cannot wait for fall to come. I could not be more excited about fall because it's been really hot in my kitchen, and if it's a little bit cooler, I could just work that much longer in the kitchen and get a lot more work done. But otherwise, I've just been schwitzing like crazy every time I dye yarn. Me and Dennis have to figure out a way to kind of incorporate an air conditioner into our kitchen because right now we just don't have one. I've been working with fans. I have a portable air conditioner that I've been hooking up to the window, but it's not really doing anything because once those burners are going, no matter what kind of air conditioner you have, unless I'm like standing in front of it, there's no point. I don't know. But anyway, I'm complaining. No, it'll be fine. Once the weather gets cooler, it'll be great. So anyway, I will not keep you guys any longer. Have a great weekend. Happy Labor Day. Or just, enjoy your time off. And I hope everyone has fun plans planned for the weekend. Me and Dan are still working to find something to do. We always do this every year, like come up with last minute plans, like just to get out of the city. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, we'll figure out something, and I'm sure I'll Instagram about it. But yes, I feel like I should mention this at the end of every podcast or the beginning, but I never mention it. I am Voolenvine on Ravelry, Voolenvine. I'm Voolenvine on Instagram. I'm more active there than I am anywhere else on the interwebs. I'm, at Voolenvine on Instagram. I don't really use Twitter anymore. I'm on Ravelry, and yeah, I'm on Periscope. I did maybe 2 broadcasts. I haven't done any more. I don't know, I just haven't gotten around to Periscoping, but it's fun, and I'm on there, so feel free to add me. I'm obviously Voolenvine on there. So anyway, all right, that said, happy knitting, and I will see you next time. Bye.